Hey folks, welcome back to classes. This is the video for Interactive 2, Spring 2024 semester. I wanted to go over the syllabus and the first module's worth of work so that you are ready to get started as soon as you sign in. Hopefully you've seen the announcements about classes, the start of classes being delayed on Tuesday, January 16th until 11 a.m. Due to the snow conditions and the below freezing conditions we've been having in Denver. However, if you're signing in online, hopefully you are signing in from the comfort of your home and not dealing with any of that weather that we're dealing with. So if you've had interactive media 1 with me, which most of you would say, I'm almost positive every one of you have had that class with me. The format of the class is primarily the same, so we still have the 2-week modules, and I'm showing you here my syllabus, so I'm going to scroll down a bit here and go to the module structure. Sorry, here we go. So the class is set up very similar to Interactive 1, also very similar to Interactive 3 if you continue with me. So we've got our 2-week modules through the entire semester. We have in Module 5, that one's actually a 1-week module because it's spring break. And then we've got finals week all the way at the end. So that's a total of 8 modules for nearly 16 weeks because each module is 2 weeks long. So for this class, we're working on a couple of projects throughout the semester. Sorry, I know I keep zooming up and down. I promise I'll stop here. Okay, so we have a couple of projects that we're working on for this class. The major one that we're working on is a responsive design project. And your goal for this project is to define, design, prototype, test a interactive design experience that spans mobile, tablet, desktop, and wearable. I have some details for you in the design brief in the module, which I will show here in a few moments. But that is your largest design project this semester. It is a solo project. However, if you are interested in working with a group or with a paired, with another partner designer, let me know by the end of this week, so by Sunday midnight, so that I can set up the assignments in a way where I can grade them as group work. If you don't tell me by Sunday, then I won't be able to do it because then folks will submit their work and then I'll have to like disconnect their work and then try to reconnect it to a group project. It becomes difficult. So if you let me know by Sunday midnight, I can get it set up so that we can have solo projects and group projects going on simultaneously. So that said, this is an original product concept, so you'll be able to come up with an idea on your own. There won't be a specific prompt like what we had last semester where it was a civic design project. This will be all completely creatively driven by you. The requirements, though, is that it needs to have a mobile, desktop, tablet, and wearable component to your project. This is a 10-ish week project. You'll have a maximum of 4 weeks to work on a project proposal, which you will get access to as soon as the class opens. And then you get 6 weeks. You get 4 weeks to do your proposal, 4 weeks to do the designs and prototypes for them, and then 2 weeks to work on your case study. I typically have these projects due when you go for spring break. However, I will move the due date to the end of spring break to give you that extra week to complete them. Typically, I prefer to grade during spring break, so I'll kind of extend that courtesy for folks who want the extra 7 days. Okay. After we work on that really intense 10-week project, you're then going to move to a 3 to 4 week project that revolves around inclusive design and accessible design. So for these 2 modules, you will be you'll be re-examining a project that you've done in the past, or you can re-examine a product that's currently out in the market. So you can look at apps that already exist and find ways and design a prototype to make that app or make your previous project more accessible and more inclusive. The details I will give you when that time comes. I don't want you to worry about that now. But your project 2 will be a 4-week project. And then you're going to round out the class with your career prep project. So this is an interview preparation session that will include some research, some interview preparation, and it'll end with a deliverable that you'll provide to me. And it's kind of a mock interview prep scenario. So it's something that I do when I'm looking at new roles and things like that. So I want you to get some of that experience of doing it in this class as well, because I don't think that there is a career development course per se that you get with the interactive design series. Okay, so those are the three major projects we're working on. You'll have your discussions, your discussion posts, so that should be business as usual for you. You know the drill. Discussion posts are published on Sundays. However, because the semester started a day or two late. In this case, it's publishing on Tuesday. But typically, your discussion posts, when they go live, your first post is due Wednesday. And then you have Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday to post all of your replies. And I need to see 3 posts over that week for you to get full credit for that. The final for the class, as you know, is not a typical final. I don't really do a lot of theory in these classes. These are all practicums, things that you'll actually be doing when you're designers out in the field. So you'll be updating your LinkedIn profile based on all the things you learned in this class, and then also completing a design challenge, which last semester I believe was an interview exercise where you did an app critique either through video or through writing, or you chose a design challenge. So it'll be something similar to that. And if you have a request, something that you specifically want to focus on, let me know, and I can help accommodate for that. As you know, late work, absences, etc. So you've known my policy to be fairly flexible. So for Interactive 2, I want to make sure that you're able to submit these assignments on time. Discussion posts are very time sensitive, so they lack a little bit of relevance once the deadline has passed. Although all learning is great, and I want you to be able to to pass this class. However, please try to get these discussion posts, the 3 required posts, completed by the due date. For your assignment extensions, because there's fewer submissions this semester, you need to make sure to budget your time appropriately and to communicate any challenges you have with your scheduling to me so that we can work on different timelines. Similarly, if you have an accommodation from the health center, please make sure that you submit it to me as soon as possible as well, so that I am aware of any extensions that you may require. If you are falling behind in the class, you won't actually know you're falling behind until spring break. So that's danger zone. So I want you to communicate with me either through Canvas or through email, preferably through Canvas, so that I'm a little bit more responsive, so that we can work on a plan to get you caught up. Because again, we don't have the same submission timelines that we did for Interactive 1. There's a lot less submissions. And if you don't submit all of your stuff, for Project 1 by spring break, there's very little you can do to catch up after that point of no return. All right, so I think I've gone through the major details here, so you can read through these on your own. I gave kind of a brief overview of that. We've got reading, we've got discussions, we've got projects, so you're familiar with that. So I'm going to switch over to another tab, which is Canvas. So when you sign in, again, this will be very familiar for folks who've taken classes with me before. Your module should be published by the time you are logged into class tomorrow or today, because you may be watching this on Tuesday. You'll open up the agenda. The agenda will have all the information you need for those 2 weeks. So I've got this nice little note for you. It'll have all the links, all of your to-dos, the lectures, and all the things that you need to submit, and my contact information. You'll always find it in the agenda. Go back to that module. So I'll have a link to the class syllabus, which is linked off into Google Drive. You should have read access to that document. I will also, I have the link here to the responsive design project brief, which explains exactly what I'm looking for. We have your discussion one. We have your project proposal and UX strategy brief. So this is your 4-week deliverable. So you'll get 4 weeks to work on this. I suggest you spend 2 to 3 weeks so that you can bank an extra week of design time. I think it's possible. It's very doable for you to complete it in 2 to 3 weeks, but I'm giving you 4 in case you need some time to get started. And then your WordPress site. So I gave you very specific instructions at the end of Interactive 1 not to delete your website. This is why. You're going to have to publish things to that website for Interactive 2 and Interactive 3. So if you have the link, all you have to do is submit the link. There's no extra work you need to do. However, if you've somehow added to this class without having taken a class with me before, and you don't have a WordPress website, which means you have added in like years late, because I've had this assignment going on for years now. But if for some reason you don't have a WordPress website or you deleted it or something happened, just go ahead and follow the instructions on how to create a new one. And when you're done, submit the link. So just check the rubric and the instructions in the assignment. All right, let's look at the project, the responsive design brief, since that is a big chunk of work for the next month for you. So the responsive design project is a end-to-end digital design experience that will extend between mobile, tablet, desktop, and wearable. You will come up with an original idea of your choosing. If you want to work on a project that already exists, so perhaps a previous student project, or you just want to like pluck some app out of the App Store and want to like redo it, make sure you contact me before you go down that path and work on this long proposal. The assignment is that you will create a concept from scratch and that you will create a design that works across all of these devices. So responsive design means that you will have one core design pattern library. So you'll have a certain color palette, your buttons will look a certain way, you'll have certain fonts, essentially like the look and feel, all the components to your app that will be flexible enough to use across all of these different device sizes. For responsive design means that your design flexes very seamlessly across all these devices. So, you know, if I were looking at a website in a very narrow format, it would actually flex to the mobile design versus if I stretch it out a little bit, it then flexes to a tablet design. If you flex it out to the max, then it becomes a desktop design. You see that with your WordPress websites now. However, that's typically achieved through coding, and we're not doing any coding in these classes because that would take a lot longer than 16 weeks. What we are going to do is use Figma to do this prototyping. Now, Figma can't do responsive prototyping in the way that I am asking you to do it. So when you Google responsive design in Figma, their definition of responsive is a little bit different than what I'm asking you to do. So responsive elements in Figma means that you can resize things in mobile, you can resize things in tablet or desktop, and it'll kind of reflow based on those general proportions or those general device types, but it won't do it from mobile to tablet or mobile to desktop or vice versa. So for this project, you'll have to create different prototypes to really show and demonstrate your responsive design idea. Again, if you were coding this, or if you like open up Dreamweaver and start using Bootstrap, or if you like know how to code and can code it from scratch, you could make like a live prototype that is responsive, where it's just one link and like you make the window narrow and wide, and it reflows based on the viewport size. However, in Figma, we can't do that yet. It's not that smart yet. So for your project, you will be making different prototypes for desktop, tablet, wearable, and mobile. There are different ways that you can go about doing the design work for this, you could design for mobile first and then take those elements and resize them and relay them out for all these different device types. Or you can try to design it by feature for all of the devices at the same time. So I will leave that approach up to you. I won't prescribe exactly how to do this. You're, an interactive too. Some of these, you should be comfortable making some of these decisions on your own now. Um, at work, I have to do it both ways. So I don't think there's really a preferred way, like creating the design, creating a mobile design and then extending out to desktop, tablet, and wearable. Um, or, there's no preference of like doing all of them, all the devices all at the same time. I'd say it's about 50-50 split in terms of how I have to approach the design. So you do what's best for you, what's best for your project. And if you have any struggles, please reach out so that I can help troubleshoot. Okay, so that is the gist of the project that you'll be working on. So the project concept, as I mentioned, is an open prompt of your choosing. In Interactive 1, I specified that you were designing in iOS. For Interactive 2, I will leave it up to you if you're designing for iOS or for Android. And obviously, when you design for web, you don't have to use like iOS or Android patterns. Just make sure that the colors and the fonts, sizing, spacing, stuff like that, are all comparable so that they don't look like completely different products. I would suggest sticking with one or the other. So like, don't mix your iOS with your material design. We still want it to look cohesive when it ends up in your portfolio and when you do your prototype videos. So stick to one or the other. If because you've done iOS, I would suggest that you move on to material design. However, you still have plenty of time to pick up material design later. So if you want to continue with iOS, I won't stop you either. You should be able to find official Figma component libraries from those individual sources. So either through the material design website or the Apple Human Interface Guidelines. So don't design something from scratch. Don't design the actual components from scratch. Take the components that they give you that are like proportioned correctly, sized correctly, all of the like text sizes and the type ramp and lines height and all that stuff. They've already figured it out for you. Start with those libraries and then customize the look and feel to your style and to what the app needs to look like. Do not create those from scratch because that creates a lot of extra work for you. Unless you want to create extra work for you. You don't have a lot of time. So I don't know if you want to create more work for you. So anyways, choose iOS, or Android. Try not to commingle them. Don't have to apply them directly for web. Just make sure that you maintain the same look and feel. So project logistics. So this is a solo project by default. If you want to work in a group, that's great. Make sure you've aligned on a loose idea of a topic and then notify me before the end of the week. So by Sunday, January 21st, so I can set it up in Canvas appropriately. So this is just the overview for the deliverables that you will be completing in these 10 weeks. So you're not going to submit this in the 4 weeks deliverable. This is for all of the project. So you're going to create a responsive design strategy doc. You will create 4 Figma prototypes, mobile, desktop, tablet, and wearable. You will create a video demonstration of your prototype. So that's video with audio narration. So I want to be able to see what you're presenting and also hear you talk about what you're presenting. So don't just do a click-through prototype, or don't just do a click-through video. And then the last one is a case study published on your website. So this shouldn't scare you. You've done this before, except you're just doing it a lot more, and you're doing it across 4 different devices. Now, a note on wearable Figma prototype. So you won't be prototyping necessarily for a watch. I will probably need to create another explainer video on this. You will just be prototyping like the square of screen real estate that you'll have for like an Apple Watch or a Samsung watch, Fitbit, whatever. So you'll only be prototyping that square. and you'll probably just want a background that shows the watch and then like lay the square on top of it. There isn't actually a way for you to prototype the watch itself because like that functionality doesn't exist. You'd have to do a 3D model and then like superimpose visuals on it. That's not what we want. We just want the actual screen design for the wearable in your video. So if I've confused you, let me know. I'll create another explainer video. Um, okay, so again, none of these should scare you. You've done most of these, or you're familiar at least with making Figma prototypes. So now you're just going to be extending your design wings to design for other device sizes. Okay, so here is the timeline for your project. You get 5 modules. One is a half week, or one's a half module, so it's really 1 week instead of 2. But anyways, so module 1, which starts today, Tuesday, January 16th. So week 1 and 2, you will start thinking about your design project. You'll noodle on whether or not you want to work with someone else. If you do, you will let me know. So you will start work on that strategy doc. In module 2, end of module 2, so end of week 4, you will submit your responsive design strategy doc. This is a very loaded document. We will go into it here in a moment, but it is very thorough. It meticulously details what your concept is, what your sources are, what it looks like, how it works, some of the research you've done, etc. So this is a very thorough doc that will set you up for weeks 5 to 10. So that's between 4 and 5 weeks. So I've given you 4 weeks here in this like timeline budget for you to complete the design and research work for your mobile, tablet, desktop, and wearable experiences. Okay, so that's a month, a whole month, 4 weeks, nearly 28 days to do that project. In week 9, so module 5 is really, again, kind of like a half module. So in week 9, you will complete your case study and your video presentation, and that will take you to spring break. I will extend the due date to the end of spring break if you want the extra time. So I'm not asking you to work through spring break. I'm asking you to have it done by spring break so that I can grade it. But if you need more time, I won't blame you. And I will still happily take it on the last day of spring break. Okay. So again, you are, you're nearing, senior level design classes. I expect that you'll be able to manage your time. You have all of the core skills to do this work. You'll be spending this semester refining your process, getting better at Figma, getting more thorough, working through complicated design scenarios, running your usability studies, reporting out your findings, and creating a case study, and creating the video walkthrough. So I expect that you would expect me to be a little bit more hands-off than an interactive one, where I had to create very small micro deliverables and have a very strict timeline of delivery. So I'm putting a lot of trust in you and your design expertise to be able to deliver on this on time. Okay, so I have a couple of resources here. So one of them is the sample strategy document that you can use as a template to fill your information in. It's hard to read my mind, so that's why I give you these sample documents. And then we've got links for Figma for education, Axure for education. So Figma is the prototyping program you are already familiar with. Axure is just an alternative design and prototyping tool if for some reason you wanted to learn a new software. This is an option for you. It is still free for university students. I wouldn't say it's as robust as Figma, but if you wanted to round out your toolkit, you totally could. It is mostly used at financial institutions and older tech companies, but hey, like if those are industries you're interested in going to, might be worth us cracking open. I've listed Axure as an optional for the flowchart. Your prototype should be in Axure. I'm sorry, your prototype should be in Figma. Your flowchart can be in Axure or in Figma. So I leave that up to you. And then we've got the case study requirements. So this shouldn't look like rocket science. It is exactly what I've asked here. The only thing that I don't have a specific deliverable for that you'll still need to work on is usability research findings. So I'm not asking you to like submit an official report. So you will need to, in your in your 10-week bucket of time, find a way to do some usability testing and validation on your prototypes. So again, I'm not being overly prescriptive about like submitting reports on this. I'm putting a lot of trust in your expertise to get this done. So for usability research, you don't have to do end to end. You don't have to do all of the devices. Pick and choose your battles and where you need the information to improve the design. So if your design, if your project is mostly, it is like primarily used on desktop, then focus your research on desktop. If you think that mobile is really like where 100% of your users are going to be all the time, then focus your research there. I don't want you to spread yourself too thin and try to cover research across all of the devices all at the same time, because you may not have enough time, or you may not want to, steal time away from other projects and classes. So just be very targeted, very smart about when and where and like how many people you engage for this. But you'll need to include those findings in your case study. And I'm not asking you for a research report, so that is your responsibility. Okay, so I think I've covered all of this. Let me hop over to the strategy doc. So this doc is, this is a template that I've thrown together for you to follow for your initial submission. So this is due at the end of module 2. So you have 4 weeks to complete this. Okay? So the first part of your strategy doc is your proposal. You are very familiar with that. So it's a 1-paragraph proposal. You will have some figures or data cited to help explain what the problem is or the opportunity, how many people you would anticipate be impacted by a design project like this. And then you will include this problem statement, this pesky problem statement. You include that at the very end. And I even color coded it just like I did last time. So if you remember, it's users want or need something because of some reason. So here, the pink, no, those are 2 different color pinks. No, that's like a salmon and pink. Okay, so if you don't know, or you may already know if you like stalked me on the internet, I love running, and I also love running at Disney. So I came up with this idea to create a digital end-to-end Run Disney experience. So some digital experience for people who are interested in and are registering for and are participating in these like marathons and half marathons and whatever at Disney World. So this is my proposal for this fictitious project that I'm definitely not working on professionally in my spare time. So here I've explained that road running, races are big business in the US. I've given a specific a specific brand that I want to focus on. You can create your own brand, or you can also focus on something that currently exists. So here, I focus on Disney, which is Run Disney, which is an existing business that they have. I've specified, 163,000 runners annually. So that gives you an idea of how many people are going to be impacted by a design project like this if it were to launch. I've given some extra context as to what these races are, what some of the expectations are of people who register for them, etc. And then I end it with this problem statement. So Run Disney guests want memorable and flawless race vacations because they spent thousands of dollars in registration fees and travel costs and spent countless hours training for races. So this is a sample proposal paragraph. I will expect you to be able to fill in the gaps here for your product concept, what the name of it is, again, like the scale, so like the number of people that could potentially be impacted by this project, and for you to have a problem statement at the end. So once you fill that in, make sure you then include your sources in APA format. Again, you've done that before, so not super worried about you figuring out how to do that. So after that, I have user goals. So here, I've outlined 6. I want you to have at least 5. If you have even more, that's great. I'm not going to penalize you for more. It probably won't take you much time to come up with more ideas anyways. Um, so for my product idea, the user goals that I will focus on is like helping customers or guests learn about the events, so before, during, and after, help them register for events, help them be able to purchase event merchandise. I want them to be able to plan their on-course experience. So that's where the wearable comes in for me. With the wearable, I want to help these customers with tracking, getting alerts for upcoming aid and water stations, getting alerts for upcoming character stops, sweep zones, like how long until they get pulled off the course, etc. And then I want them to also to be able to view like event photos, so photos from the races, photos from the festivals, etc. So when you put this together, I want to see at least 5. Please feel free to come up with more if you feel inspired. Okay. So the next part is the device primary goals. So again, I've kind of mentioned repeatedly, you'll have desktop, mobile, tablet, and wearable. All of these devices may not all be capable of doing the exact same things at the exact same time. I don't think I'll ever see someone, unless it's a costume, run a marathon holding a laptop, but they'll probably hold a cell phone and they may wear a wearable. Similarly, someone may want to register for a race or research, information about the race, and they may not do it on their wearable. They'll probably do it on their phone or tablet or desktop. Or similarly, like after the race, when they're laying in bed recovering, they may want to look at their photos in high resolution. They might not have brought their laptop with them, but maybe they brought their tablet. So each device will have like certain unique use cases and user goals that you'll want to associate with them. So in this section, I want you to explain the device that you've chosen. So in this case, like it's a desktop. You don't have to like get specific with, HP, Chromebook, something or other. Like you can just say like the device type. So desktop here. So I want you to explain to me uh, what what user goals you're associating with it. So these goals up here that you've outlined, so like the user goals here, like to register for events, view photos, etc. I want you to specify these devices, the intended goals that you want to focus on as primary use cases for those devices, and then to provide some rationale based on how people use their device and how they would expect differentiation between the different device types. So, like I mentioned, someone's not going to run a marathon with their desktop to look at event photos. Someone isn't going to look, at their wearable to register for event. There's going to be certain devices that are better suited for certain tasks. And this is the area that I want you to explain those differences and to give rationale as to why certain experiences are going to be more prominent or only available on mobile or only desktop, for example. Okay. The next section is the feature list. I think you have experience with this with the group proposal that you created last semester. So in this case, all of the features here I've listed on the left, and then the columns here are the different devices. So you let me know, yes or no, which of these features are going to show up in your prototype. So this is partially for you to plan and for me to use this for grading later. If you didn't know, this is what I use it for. This is so that I can see that you've actually designed it in. I also will recognize that these are aspirational. So like in weeks 4 to 10, when you're doing the design work, you may cut some features. Like there may be some things that you learn that make a feature less relevant and you'll cut it. That's fine. I just want to know that you've given some time to think about which of these features are most meaningful and most useful and on which devices they would be more prominently rendered in. Okay. So the next part is design research. So again, this is an advanced level interactive design class. So I don't want to prescribe which types of research you need to do to understand your problem space. Like you are calling the shots at this point. I'm giving you a couple of ideas and suggestions. This should be familiar to you because you did it in Interactive 1, but you've also probably done it in your other classes too. So I'm looking for a minimum of 3 artifacts. So what does that mean? Um, I'm looking for 3 different research tasks essentially you've done. So you've either conducted a study, or you've found a study, or you've done a walkthrough and taken some screenshots of an app. You've read a couple of articles and have come up with an analysis. Like I want at least 3 different ways that you've conducted research, and for you to drop in your findings, and your screenshots and your artifacts here. So like here, sorry, I'm like waving my hands, you don't see that. So here in that section, I want you to be able to insert your images, insert artifacts, charts, research reports, etc. Insert that there, and then I want a 1 paragraph summary of what you learned. You can always go over the 1 paragraph requirement, just don't go less. Because again, this is a 4-week project, so I want you to really understand the problem space that you are focusing on, and to have done the due diligence, and to be able to defend your data, or defend your design decisions with data. However, you will distill it into at least 1 paragraph. Okay, so the next part is the user journey flowchart. You know how to do that. You've done a very good job of that interactive one. So you will drop the image of your flowchart here, and then make sure you also include the Figma link or the Acture link, so that I can see it, in full view. Because when you put it in here, it's going to be very small. The image will just tell me that you did it, and then when I click through it, I'll be able to actually look at it in detail, and give feedback. So a question you probably will have is, does this flowchart need to include all of these things? I don't think so. I don't believe that is a requirement that I'm asking of. Let me pop open this, your assignment really quick. This is essentially what I'm going through right now, so I'm just scrolling past it. So I'm going to go, so when you look at the assignment, you'll also see the rubric, which is what I grade on. For your flow chart, I'm asking for at least 3 features. So here in this table, there's many more than 3 features, so it's like a handful. I'm not going to count, but I will just expect that you'll focus on 3, for example. Make sure though that you include one of the wearable ones, so maybe not those 3. Okay, so I'm going to do event registration, event schedule, and runner tracker. So in that case, like, your flowchart will include some artifacts of desktop, some of mobile, some of tablet, some of wearable. So just choose 3. That's the minimum that I'm looking for in the flowchart. If you want to go bananas and do more of them, I won't stop you. But yeah, so focus on at least 3. I want you to be able to get into some level of detail, um, so that it shows that you've really put the time in and really thought through how these programs are going to work together. Okay. Okay. So some new things. These are newer concepts to you. Is, what are ways to automate, and what are ways to monetize? So as you progress through your design career, automation and monetization are going to become increasingly important for wherever you work. Um, in this project, you won't have to execute on it, meaning you won't have to like actually go through and design each one of these things. I just want you to take a moment to actually think about it, because that's the most important things, that you've thought about it. When you get out there in your career, you'll actually start doing it. But think as as you've done your initial ideation, you've come up with your feature table, you've done your research, think through what are some ways that you can either automate the content, or the processes in the app, or in this like digital experience. So in my proposal, some of the automation ideas I had were to have the wearable be able to calculate an estimated time of finish every time they pass through a mile marker or timing mat. So right now that doesn't really exist in an easy to digest format. So here, something automated would be to collect data, to collect sensor data, and to do like a real-time calculation of when I should be able to expect to finish, hit the next aid station, get to the next character stop. Another automation idea I had was for runners to be able to pre-order food And based on timing of where they were with this wearable and timing mat, being able to time when their food starts getting cooked and delivered to them at the finish line. Another automation idea was like how to use this wearable to tap in so that they had priority boarding on a ride when they're running through the parks. So those were some of the ideas I came up with. Love to hear what some of your automation ideas are for your product. Doesn't have to be specific to the wearable. I'm noticing that all of mine are specific to a wearable. Yours don't have to be. For some reason, mine, I just like over indexed on that. Okay, so the next one, what are some ways to monetize? So this one probably requires less explanation. It's, how would we make money on this product? So that is obviously a very important part of being a designer, in the industry. So you don't have to necessarily design these into your experiences unless you want to focus on it, which is great. Um, if you if you don't want to focus on it, fine. I just want to make sure you capture any ideas about how to make money here in this section. So for me, um, I had listed, event registration, being able to pre-order merchandise, being able to pay for placement in like the race starts, being able to pay for single rider tickets for races if I don't have a park ticket, being able to prepay for food. So those are some of my examples, and come up with ones that are more appropriate for your project. And then the last part is sketches or wireframes. So I just want you to drop in at least 5 ideas of what things will look like. They don't have to be beautiful or polished. I just need to know that you've thought about it. So you can use pen and paper. You can use like Google Drive here. They have like drawing tools. Some people work better when they just start like doing some lo-fi designs in Figma, and that's fine too. So whatever works best for you, um, get at least 5 of those in here, and then I can get those graded. So that should be it for most of Module 1 and a lot of Module 2. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to me on Canvas in the messaging system. I will get my office hours up to date so that you can also book. And yeah, glad to have you back in class. Please let me know if you have any questions, and please stay safe out there. The snow and the ice are pretty rough right now. So stay safe. Let me know if you have any questions. Have a great first week of class. All right, bye.